Good morning and good in between for most of us, in between Christmas and New Year's. I know sometimes we have slightly different dates. I know sometimes that Christmas is celebrated, I believe, on January 7th in the Orthodox religion, although that's actually being changed this year. Isn't that interesting? For some, such as very understandably for those in the Ukraine, have changed their celebration day from January 7th for Christmas, I believe it was the 7th, to December 25th, as most of the world had been doing. Let me see. It's not that one was any more or less correct than another, and I'm trying to look for what was the Orthodox date. Was it the 6th, 5th, 6th, or 7th? I'm not sure I recall, but I think it was January 7th. Anyway, all of that is wonderful human-made choices, and all have good intention behind them. So here we are with that, huh? I am just switching back to where I was. There I am. Oh. How is everyone today? Recovering from running around and shopping for Christmas gifts, opening things up, standing in one of the longest lines in the world. Some of us, that's the return line for gifts. It's funny, the return line for gifts, or the exchange line at department stores. Very long lines to get what we want or to get what we think we want. And then when we get what we think we want, does it turn out to be what we wanted? Or is what we really want happiness, which does not need to come through a prescribed path, not necessarily often at all through the path that our mind thinks? And do we want happiness for any other reason than we already know happiness because we are happiness? So we're looking to simply recognize our true nature. We're looking to reveal ourselves to ourselves, the happiness that we inherently are. So, there's a little thought, isn't it? How do we like that? Sally Olga says, the one and only true gift to give someone is your time and energy. That's true. Your presence. It's another way of saying it. Simply your presence, your love. I like the concept of true happiness is the absence of the searching for happiness. Because what happens when we get what we want, we stop looking for it. When we get what we recognize that we've always wanted, we stop looking for it. And what is it except for self? Happiness, joy. So we stop searching for the happiness. And when we stop searching for the happiness, that's a marvelous indicator that we are already that. So I decided to sit in front of a window. It could be too bright to blot out the picture, but we could see some of nature behind us, which I think is always kind of lovely. So I found a little corner here and come up too bright and white everything out. We're here. I'm sure we've all made lots of discoveries over the holidays, or rediscoveries. How we intend to be, plan to be, know we will be in our family gatherings, and then how things actually turn out can be amusing, frustrating, depending upon how much judgment we choose to put into them. So again, with what we talked about last week, let's remind ourselves that, we can choose to be consistent and balanced and harmonious in any situation. Sometimes what helps is just maintaining the recognition that we are light. I'm the light for everyone and everything. The light for everyone and everything. It's also really the light for us because we are everyone and everything. We are God, we are love, we are infinite intelligence and being. So a wonderful key to this is seeing that so is everyone else. Allowing ourselves to see Source with a capital S in everyone and everything. Can we see Source in everyone and everything? And what a wonderful, I don't want to use the word test, but what a wonderful perspective, magnifying glass, way of viewing this is brought to so many of us over the holidays in many different ways. For some of us, it's the holidays of spending love and beauty with friends and families. For some of us, it's the holidays are being immersed with friends and or family and moving through the growth that can bring about, sometimes in not the smoothest, most comfortable way. For some of us, we don't interact with friends and family either because we may have chosen not to, some of them may have chosen not to, or we simply might not have what we consider family around, or even recognize sometimes friends. It's so individual and yet universal. Tatiana Evolve says we are all facets of a wonderful, love that analogy. We're all facets of a wonderful gem. The universe are facets of a wonderful gem. A lot of times people say, I'm seeing other dimensions. I'm seeing other beings. I'm seeing ghosts or spirits or guides or extraterrestrials or this or that or whatever names we give them, but really they're all facets of us. Sometimes I like to think of it as, there's art that, there's certain kinds of art sometimes where you see one thing on the surface of the art, and then if you sort of focus and allow your eyes to defocus and refocus, suddenly you see another picture. You have to just let yourself find it. It's created that way for you, so it looks like one thing on the surface, and then as you just sort of relax and allow your eyes to find another focus, you see a picture that was part of the design painted underneath. I sort of think of it this way, as far as, who are these guides or spirit guides or archangels or whatever names we want to give. When we assign names to a recognition of someone or even something, we are assigning otherness to it. What if we imagine this huge, immense gem? We'll use that analogy of a gemstone. What did Tanya put it? Facets of a wonderful gem embracing the nuances. Sometimes imagine that we're right up against one facet of the gem, and that's all we see. That's it. Until we allow our eyes to defocus a little and refocus, and suddenly we see through that one facet to the facet all the way across the other side. So maybe there's this huge diamond out in the universe, the size of multitudes of stuck and we're just like sucked up against one of the facets. And we're looking only at that. And then somewhere our eyes refocus, and across the way we see someone. And we have a choice to recognize ourselves or to think, oh, I didn't see it before. Someone else. It must be an other. And then, of course, with the concept of else or other, then we make these cerebral decisions. Are they neutral? Are they good? Or are they bad? Are they in danger? Are they here to help? Names. But really, we're just refocusing, and we're seeing another facet of that perfect gem, as Tatiana called it. That is us. And we're existing everywhere at once, so we're viewing ourselves through certain facets. And in that recognition, we can let go of the otherness and realize that we're simply on a continuum of being. We might want to call it life, presence, a continuum of recognition. And in that recognition, suddenly all fear shows itself to be an illusion, and all disappears. All the stories we've made up of being attacked or led or misled or evil looking like good or disguising itself, we can just let them go. Yes, by this authority or that authority. It doesn't really matter, because all the authorities that are alive and in life have learned from their own perceptions, and perception allows for misperception, for judgment. Let it go and be. And suddenly you experience yourself as love. This is healing itself. Because what are we really healing from except for the illusion? Oh no, someone's in a hospital, someone's in this, someone's broken their arm. These are how we choose, keyword, to manifest illusion. Let go. People have instantaneous healings. They simply release what they've been holding on to as their manifestation of less than, other than. But this person really physically can't move. They've had a surgery in place. They have a steel pin in their spine, and they can't this and they can't that. But what happens when they suddenly do? These were just stronger illusions we bought into because they were a part of agreed upon thinking by a majority of agreed upon authorities, or just because they were a different way that matter manifested. For a moment, matter came out of beingness. Matter temporarily took on that form of matter from what it always is in the infinite, which is consciousness, awareness. Yes, as Chelsea says, we are whole and complete. We are whole and complete. You are ultimately source. You are ultimately the creator and therefore creation. Healing is our freedom, our liberation. And what can we liberate ourselves? I'll use the word into. What can we liberate ourselves into? Ourselves to or into the truth, the essence of who and what we really are. That's all. Sharing with you a cup of my homemade Indian chai tea. Friends who have moved here to the U.S. a few years ago, staying with us, and Jillian and I have the lovely gift of every morning waking up to gorgeous Indian chai tea, which is saying chai tea is sort of like saying shrimp scampi. Look on the menu and we say, oh, look, shrimp scampi. About it, scampi is the word for shrimp, so we're really ordering shrimp. So chai tea is really chai, tea. But that's another discussion. We can only liberate ourselves to who we really are. We liberate ourselves from the illusion of being dual. But duality is the fragmentation of who we really are. Fragments as we are either this or either that, instead of recognizing that those fragments are those facets of the diamond. They're not separate. They're just ways in which we allow ourselves to see ourselves. We should get t-shirts that say, choose radical non-duality. I'd like to take credit for that, but someone else said it. I'm just not sure I recall who. Choose radical non-duality. That's choosing love instead of division. That's all. That we are all one. Choose radical non-duality. Anka in Romania gave us the word in Romanian for tea. However, that doesn't always help us all pronounce it, because I would look at that and call it si, sai, chai. It's another word. I think it's chai in Turkish too. Anyway, choose radical non-duality. Don't you love that? We are one with everyone. You might like them, but we're one with them, and being one means love. So we are love. We love everyone and everything, even if we don't want to, even if we don't like them. We can't not be the essence of who and what we are. We can only try really hard to avoid it. Wow, that's a whole lot of energy put somewhere we don't really want to, I would think. So choosing radical non-duality is like choosing to, what we might say here in a word of duality and opposites is raise. Use the word raise. You choosing to raise your frequency. It's a choice to upgrade, to really upgrade. But what is that upgrade? It's recognition of oneness. Again, explore. I love exploring words, and what it's really come to me is I love exploring the words because I like seeing where the light of the words shine, and the more we explore the words, the more we realize the words are never going to get us there. But they are going to bring us in that direction. It's like that old example about technique is never going to get us there. Well, what is that? I'm over here, if I'm 3 feet away from you, technique of how to walk to you, half and I'm halfway there. I can step halfway again and I'm closer, and halfway again and I'm closer. And we get lost in the fact that we are getting closer and closer and closer, and yet as long as we stay in the technique of step halfway, step halfway, step halfway, we'll never get there until we release it, until we allow the technique to do what it's designed to do, which is to self-dissolve. And sometimes that comes from continuing in the technique until we allow ourselves to realize that there's no need for this technique any longer. And what, therefore, is the light that dispels the darkness of technique? Presence and being. And then we go, oh, I get it. I'm not going to step halfway anymore. I'm just simply step there. I'm going to simply be there. And that light of recognition of love dissolves the reaching out for the next technique. Isn't that cool? It means we can run downstairs to our healing room as if we need a room for healing. It's like needing a church or a mosque or a synagogue to pray to or talk with God, instead of realizing that we are one with always. We can run down to our little healing room and take all the certificates off and laugh and smile and put them away to show our grandchildren, if they're around, say, this is what we used to believe in. Or we can just warm ourselves with a nice bonfire with them at night and realize that as we let go of the papers, the certifications of that we learned how to do something, it's replaced by the recognition that we are that, always have been, always will be, always am, because there is only here and now. Now, that's our healing. But we can look away. What if we think of it this way? It was Robert Edward Grant who says, the sum of all possible perspectives, the sum of all these possible perspectives is our only possible choice, and the key to this is love. And love is you. So you are the most valuable piece. Our love. This is our healing. We keep going, yeah, someone's breathing problem, or this person isn't able to speak, or this person is dependent upon this, and how do I fix that? It's in the recognition that we are healing, because in that recognition we are light. And light does not pick and choose. Light is not held onto by one person. It can't be. It has no borders. It has no boundaries. As we allow ourselves to step into the recognition of, we're stepping into the light, we are becoming or shining more and more the light. And therefore that is the light and the healing that is everyone and everything. We think it's something we're doing. And what part of it wants to be something that we learn to do? Wants it to be something that we learn to do? The ego, the part of our personality that wants to judge, that wants to be excellent, that wants to be better than others and better than we were. Not that there's something wrong with being better than we were, except for the word better itself. Play with that one. And we see sometimes what we don't allow ourselves to see in ourselves. We see it in certain ways in others. Reality, see it as the illusion, but we think of it as a reality. The only obstacles, and we talked about this last week, that are real in our lives are the ones we believe. Let's just breathe with that for a moment. There's a story that I'm paraphrasing here. The inner wisdom inside of me says, go look up the story before you actually, share it today, but I'm close enough to it and I'll look it up again later. This is close enough to the truth of it. About a young Muhammad who learned how to be an orator, a speaker, a presenter. And he enjoyed that very much. And at that point in time, it was his personality that really enjoyed that. And at a certain point in time, as the spiritual being of Muhammad revealed itself, he let go of orating and speaking. And maybe 20 years later or so, as the story goes, as best as I recall it, God said, Muhammad, it's now time for you to speak. For you to speak on the spirituality that you're recognizing. And Muhammad said, well, I'm not driven to be a speaker any longer. And the concept is that Muhammad was no longer led by the ego-serving drive that he originally had to be a speaker. He had released the ego through his spirituality, through his understanding, through how he opened up. And God says, you spent 20 years mastering that talent. So now it's time, Muhammad, to use this talent for God. What are some of the things we invested in because our egos drove us a certain way? Learning this, mastering that. And then at a certain point in time, we recognize the oneness that we are and our ego is no longer leading. Let's not forget that these talents and skills serve. These talents and skills serve. I learned how to really present well and compellingly on stage and talking about healing and laughing and being funny with it and irritating people because of the truths that came out that they didn't want to hear, and yet enjoying that. Ego enjoyed that. All these things. Sometimes I said, if you don't piss some people off, you're not really making a change. It's not that. That isn't true. But at a certain point in time, that left my drive. And now I enjoy the quiet, peaceful sharing. And then, occasionally, presenting again, but always from a different perspective. My own perspectives along the way, and that has to be all right. That has to be all right. What about you? We can change our perspectives, our judgments, our interpretation of things that are happening, things that are appearing in our lives, seemingly happening to us. And that can allow us to lead a more seemingly evolved life. And that's great. More spiritual, more centered, less judgmental. But don't lose your motivation. Don't lose your sense of humor. Don't lose your joie de vivre. Use your presence, your talents, your skills to share the presence of God, of love, of being. To, in that, be healing. They may be the very same skills, the very same nature of being, very same aspects of your personality, and yet the choice, the awareness, what's coming from within your being, is that always the same? We can share these skills not so much necessarily for the ego, but that each example is an example of God, is an example of healing. Each analogy is a representation of that. In Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life, Solomon explains, and I'm paraphrasing here, connective healing to not to be about what it brings to you, only through you. Energy, light, information, God, love, not to be what it brings to you, only through you. And that's ease and presence. It's coming from a devotion inside, not a discipline from the outside. Discipline is not really a very inviting word anyway, is it? It's almost like being forced, even if it's forcing yourself. But the devotion of being, not a forced devotion, but the devotion of being, has a different feel to it for me. Has a different feel to it for me. How about you? Just breathe with that word for a moment. The inner devotion that is simply being. By the way, letting you know, feel free to come join us on our Wednesday Reconnective Life community gatherings, because they are now open to everyone. We will not be charging for them as a subscription. And most every Wednesday, starting at 11 p.m. Chicago time. 11 a.m. Chicago time, noon New York time, 9 a.m. California time, as we explore the book Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. You don't even have to have the book yet, if and when you're ready, but you probably do want to have it to read along with us. So I enjoy sharing today what Solomon says. Allow healing. What is reconnective healing except the reconnection of everyone and everything? Allow it to be not about what it brings to you, only through you. So we talk about discipline and devotion. I think of discipline as of the ego, devotion of the heart, as truth. Devotion comes from the heart. Discipline comes a little bit more from the calendar, the clock, the mind, the ritual. It is imposed at an early age by others. Later, if we're not careful, it's imposed upon us by us. Be. There's no imposition of being. Anything that requires force, effort, imposing cannot last. Is not of the here and now. It's only of the transient. Breathe. Breathe. Isn't that a gorgeous example? See the gray sky behind me? Except it's not. We just see the clouds passing across the blue sky. to remind ourselves the sky is blue. This is being, this is devotion. Discipline is not without value, and clouds are not without value. But discipline is not who and what we are. And the sky is not gray. Fly above those clouds right there. You'll discover that the sky is always and forever blue. Even with the Romanian gorgeous full moon that's going on right there now. As we spoke about with words, they shine a light. They can't define. We can't use words to describe or define oneness. Love. Being. Our true nature. But words, as we explore and play with them, shine a light. They evoke. They're evocative. Evoke that recognition that we can't come back and say, oh, here it is in words. Nope. Lost again in words. But in the presence of it, being is infinite. I think we mentioned that people who take a Vedantic approach, the Vedantins, speak of oneness as non-duality. Sufis speak of it as oneness, as unity. So oneness can touch the heart. Non-duality can appeal to the mind. They're all aspects, they're different directions of light shining. But let's not focus on how we shine the light. When we teach our seminars on the reconnection, on level 3, directions and movements that we can show you, patterns and points. And oftentimes, the student might become a little nervous or focused on trying to get it right instead of being it. They look at where their finger is pointing. They look at the finger, that is pointing. They look at the tip of the finger. Imagine the sky. Imagine that moon in Romania right now that's in the sky. Point to the moon. When you point, do you look at your fingertip? Or do you look at the moon? When you go into your kitchen to get a glass out of the cabinet, do you look at your hand or do you look at the glass? Words, think of words as your fingertip. Don't focus on the words. The moon is the truth. The words won't get you there. Look at where you're going. So, how did we begin today? That happiness is the absence of the search for happiness. What a wonderful time of the year around the world. And yet, every time of the year around the world is wonderful. You're joining us and being present today is gorgeous. Your presence is light that allows us to see, allows us to share. To share a cup of chai, to share recognition of who and what we are, one with everyone and everything. So for those of you who would like today, in about half an hour from now, we're going to share a replay of one of the Solomon Speaks. Very much. We hope you'll come join us for it. It will start in half an hour. 7 o'clock Central Chicago time in the U.S., 11 a.m. Noon New York time, 9 a.m. California time. And whatever time zone you are in, it will start there for you. Tatiana says, all exists already. Everything exists already. We just have to allow ourselves to perceive it, to recognize it. That's so beautiful. The moon is there. Are we going to focus on our fingertips? Or be present with the moon? Thank you for being here. Looking forward to seeing you next week, as always, and looking very much forward to seeing some of you. I know we're going to see some of you already, and that will be, I think it is, November 10th and 11th. There will be a Reconnective Healing Catalyst program in San Diego in the U.S. that, as of now, Jillian and I intend to be there with you. So you'll come join us there, and let me read what just is put in here. Nina Petit says, I want to share something. Don't focus too much on form. Focus on the formless and the emptiness. From there, the form can be rearranged in a coherent way, effortlessly. And that's a beautiful aspect. Beautiful. Funny though, with that word, emptiness, it conveys so much, and yet at the same time, is it truly empty? No. Does that mean that the use of the word emptiness is not correct? No, it's perfectly appropriate also. You can't make a word right or wrong. You can only say, oh, look at that gorgeous light into the formless the word emptiness gives me. And at the same time, that light also shows that it is filled with potential. It's so loveless. Thank you so much for sharing that. Everyone, much love. See you here same time next week, next Wednesday. Bye for now.